Welcome to WanderLens Atlas, your guide to the nations of World Cup 2026. Today, we explore South Africa. South Africa sits at the very southern tip of the African continent, a country of extraordinary diversity, where 11 official languages are spoken, where snow-capped mountains meet subtropical coastline, and where one of the world's great political stories unfolded in the second half of the 20th century. We begin in Cape Town. Few cities in the world have a setting as dramatic as Cape Town. Table Mountain rises flat-topped and imposing over the city, its summit accessible by cable car and offering panoramic views across the Cape Peninsula, the two oceans that meet at its tip, and the rolling suburbs below. The V&A waterfront buzzes with restaurants and markets. The Bo-Kaap neighborhood, with its brightly painted houses and Cape Malay culture, is a photographer's dream. And at the end of the Cape Peninsula, Cape Point marks the dramatic meeting of the Atlantic and Indian Oceans, where powerful waves crash against ancient cliffs. 30 minutes from Cape Town, Boulders Beach near Simonstown is home to one of the world's most remarkable wildlife encounters, a colony of African penguins that waddles freely across the sand and into the sea. This is South Africa at its most quietly extraordinary. Wild animals living alongside daily life. Head inland from Cape Town and the Cape Winelands open up in a series of valleys that would not look out of place in France or Italy. Stellenbosch is the heart of the wine country, a university town of oak-lined streets and Cape Dutch architecture, surrounded by vineyards producing world-class Pinotage, Chenin Blanc, and Cabernet Sauvignon. Franschhoek, founded by French Huguenot refugees in the 17th century, is now home to some of the finest restaurants on the African continent. Further north, the garden route traces the southern coastline through forests, lagoons, and dramatic cliffs from Mossel Bay to Storms River. Knysna, with its famous lagoon and oyster culture, is the jewel of the route. Tsitsikamma National Park is where ancient yellowwood forests meet pounding surf, and the suspension bridge at Storms River mouth is one of South Africa's great walks. And then there is the Great Wilderness. Kruger National Park in the northeast is one of Africa's largest and most celebrated game reserves, an area the size of Wales teeming with lions, elephants, buffalo, leopards, and rhinos. The Big Five still roam here in vast numbers. Sunrise game drives through the low-veld bush, dust rising from the track, the sound of birdsong breaking the silence before a herd of elephants appears through the trees. This is South Africa, at its most primeval and its most alive. Johannesburg, South Africa's largest city, is a place of contradiction and energy. The Apartheid Museum tells the story of institutionalized racial segregation with unflinching honesty. It is one of the most important museums in the world, and no visitor to South Africa should miss it. Nearby Soweto, southwestern townships, is where Nelson Mandela and Desmond Tutu both lived, and where the Soweto Uprising of 1976 became a turning point in the resistance to apartheid. Today, Soweto is a neighborhood of shebeens, braai smoke, and extraordinary street art, very much alive on its own terms. South African food is celebratory and fire-cooked. The braai, the South African barbecue, is more than a meal. It is a national ritual, a way of gathering, an institution. Boerewors, the long, coiled farmer's sausage, sizzles over coals. Pap, a stiff maize porridge, is served with tomato and onion relish. Biltong, air-dried spiced meat, is the national snack, sold in every corner shop and petrol station. And a freshly opened ice-cold Castle Lager in the shade of the African bush is as satisfying as any drink on earth. South Africa was the host nation for the 2010 FIFA World Cup, the first time the tournament was held on African soil. The sound of the vuvuzela swept the world. the country delivered a tournament of extraordinary atmosphere and left a legacy of world-class stadiums that are still in use today. At World Cup 2026, South Africa returned to the global stage, taking on Mexico in what promises to be a fierce and passionate group stage match. This is WanderLens Atlas.